Hello everybody and welcome to Sports Source, your number one source for sports. I'm your host Brody, and today we're going to be running down some 2018 NHL Playoff Predictions. Who I think is going to win the Cup, who's going to win in every round, how many games, all that stuff, and maybe we're going to even take a deeper dive into the lines, playoff matchups, and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get started with our first round matchup. So our first matchup is Nashville Predators against the Colorado Avalanche. Now the Colorado Avalanche, they just squeaked in. The last game, it all came down to the wire, and now they're playing the steam-rolling Nashville Predators. But they're actually not steam-rolling right now. They're only 5-4-1 in their past 10 games, but that's because they were playing, games that weren't really important, because prior to 10 games, they were already in the playoffs. They had a nice, comfortable lead. They weren't really playing meaningful hockey. But Colorado, they're going with momentum. They have one of the hottest players in the league, one of the best players in the league. Well, definitely one of the best point getters in the league in Nathan McKinnon, and he's just been making his line terrific over these past months, and I think that him or Hull should win the Hart, because without them, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. But it's still Nashville. They're still the favorites, one of the favorites to win the Cup, and I think that Nashville will win this one in 5 games. Also, Colorado doesn't have Varlamov, and I don't think Bernier he's not a very consistent goalie, and I don't think that he can do so in 7 games. Next up is the Winnipeg Jets against the Minnesota Wild. You already know who I think is going to win. The Wild. No, I'm just kidding. I think I have the Jets taking it in, I have 5 games. Again, just like the Nashville Predators. Minnesota is actually an underrated team going to the playoffs, but at the same time, they're not, because they did finish 3rd, so they're not too far behind Winnipeg, only I think it's 10 points. But at the end of the day, they lost their best player, best defenseman, Ryan Suter, with injury. And then you're going to have some other guys step up, and I just don't see them getting past the stacked Winnipeg Jets. Obviously, the Jets have great depth. They got great defense this year, great goaltending. I don't think that the Minnesota Wild will make it past the Winnipeg Jets in the first round. Next up is one of the biggest wild cards in this whole first round. It's Vegas versus the LA Kings. Now, you got Vegas, who is, I don't know if we should. Vegas is a very weird team going to this playoffs, because is this luck that we see, or is it skill? We don't really know what to expect from them in this playoffs. They could get swept. They could go to the Cup final. We don't know. They're one of the biggest wild cards, and they're playing the experienced LA Kings who have been in this position before. They have lots of guys that have stepped up in the playoffs before. Dustin Brown, who usually sucks in the regular season, and he had a really big year this year, and he usually does good in the playoffs. And if he's doing this good in the regular season, hopefully that carries on into the playoffs. They just have lots of great depth at forward, great defense. They got Jonathan Quick in net, which he can hold his own in the playoffs. I just think that with the experienced LA Kings, that they'll take the Vegas Golden Knights to 7, and I actually have the LA Kings winning. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights, they do have a very good team. They do have a really good coach, but I just see the LA Kings slightly edging them out as my, wild card team or underdog. Next up, this one I was going back and forth between. This was, I think, one of the hardest ones to predict. Anaheim, San Jose. They're basically both the same. Goaltending, I give the slight edge to Anaheim because John Gibson has been playing significant this year. He's been playing amazing in these past few months. And Martin Jones is kind of... he's still a really good goalie, but just we haven't seen that next level like Gibson has taken. So I give the goaltending advantage there. Defense, I think that San Jose is the better defense. I mean, Anaheim still has a great defensive core, but without Cam Fowler, I give the edge to San Jose. Also, they have Vlasic, who has proven to be very good in the playoffs. They have Brent Burns, who's been proven to be very good in the playoffs. I give the edge to San Jose. And then forwards, Anaheim as one of the deepest forward groups, I think, in this whole Western Conference. They have lots of great forwards, and especially I see lots of guys stepping up in the playoffs, like Andre Case I could see having a really big playoff run. Jakob Silfverberg, because those are the cap players they are. I've looked over the years, and I've seen underdog teams, I've seen underdog players, and I see Anaheim Ducks as an underdog team or an underdog player. They had a really rough start to the start of the season with injuries and just not doing good, but they've picked up steam, and I think that they will beat the San Jose Sharks in 7 games. Now, I originally had the San Jose Sharks, but I switched it back to the Anaheim Ducks. Moving on to the East is the New Jersey Devils versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, this is a hard series, too. Well, it's not really a difficult series. I have Tampa Bay winning in 6 games, or 6 or 5. I can't go between those two because I think Corey Schneider's injured. I'm not sure on that completely. And then you've got Taylor Hall, who's been one of the hottest players in the league. He can win the MVP. And their defensive core is it's borderline. They got all right forwards, but they're playing against the stacked Tampa Bay Lightning, who are the favorites, I think, to win the Cup. But if you look at it, people are saying New Jersey will beat them because they're 3-0 in the series, but I don't really think that matters too much. I think New Jersey will take 2 games, which they'll be lucky if that even happens. But I think that New Jersey could slightly, come close to them, but I still think that Tampa Bay will ultimately edge them out in the first round. Next up, this one, I'm still not too sure about this series. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins. Now, I'm not really too sure about this. I originally had Toronto, then I was like, Boston, Toronto. I was flipping back between those 2 teams. But let's look at the factors here. Goalies. Frederik Andersen has been great. So is Tuukka Rask. They're kind of, they could do either way. Frederik Andersen has been better down the stretch. Tuukka Rask has been more consistent in the playoffs and in this year. So goaltending, it's kind of a stalemate there. Defense. Now, Boston is missing Brendan Carlo, but they also have McAvoy, Chara, Krug. That's great. Toronto, their defense isn't really too great. They got Gardner, they got Riley, but then who else do they have? Ron Hainsey? Nah, defense goes to Boston. And plus, their style of play is just playoff. It's a playoff style of play, and I don't know if they could beat the Toronto Maple Leafs because the Maple Leafs are better forward-wise, I think. But they got more grit and more grind. I'm not really sure. This is going to go to 7 games for sure. Well, in my opinion. But I think just because of the storyline that happened last time, I actually think that Boston's going to blow a lead to Toronto. The coaching is just too good. The players are just too good. They're hungry for a playoff series win. And I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs will take in Game 7 in overtime after the Bruins blowing a 3-2 lead. That's a bold prediction, but you heard it here. Next up. People are going to be upset about this one. I got the Columbus Blue Jackets against the Washington Capitals. Now, the Washington Capitals, they screw me over every year. I've done playoff brackets for, I think, like 4 years in a row now. I always choose Washington to go far, and they never go far. I've never learned. But this year, I've learned. I still think that they're a very good team, but I've seen that Holtby sitting out the first game. Grubauer is still a very good goalie. But I think that with the Columbus Blue Jackets decor, which I really like, with Seth Jones, Werenski, all those guys, their goaltending, Bobrovsky, he won the Vezina, I think, a couple of years ago, and now he's stepping into the playoffs. Their forward core isn't too bad either. They got lots of forward depth. And overall, I just see Columbus edging out Washington in 7 games. I know it's heartbreaking, but I'm not going to go with Washington again because they always screw me over. But I hope that they don't make it out of the first round this year because then they would screw me over even more. Next up, Pittsburgh, Philly. I won't explain this one too much. Pennsylvania rivals. I have Pittsburgh winning in 6 games. I said 5 and I switched it to 6 because I think that Philly could put up a good fight. They got lots of good players this year. Giroux, Voracek, Simmons, they're all having great years. That's a good first line. And then you look at the Pittsburgh's forwards, which obviously edge them out. But I think that Philly will put up a little bit of a fight. I think that 6 or 5 games I give them. But just overall with Pittsburgh's playoff experience, goaltending advantage mostly everywhere, I have Pittsburgh winning it. Now we move on to one of the biggest matchups and one of the most anticipated matchups in this playoffs. The second round, you got the Nashville Predators and the Winnipeg Jets if they both make it here. This would be one of the most fun series, most anticipated. Now, you look around this room and you're thinking, oh, you already know who we're picking. But I have Nashville. The forward core, I think that Ilya Tolvanen, he's going onto the team, and I think he's going to do really good. You obviously got the forwards. I think that I give the forward edge to Winnipeg, but the defensive edge I give to Nashville. Goaltending, I think that Hellbuck will do good, but remember, he's still young. This is still a young team. I think they'll take it to 7 games, but I think with the experience and just the veteranship of the Nashville Predators, I have the Predators taking it in 7 games. But maybe one year, we will hold Lord Stanley Cup. I'll just keep this right here. Next up is the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings. The LA Kings, they didn't have to play a big matchup. I have Anaheim taking this for sure in 6 games. Goaltending, again, it's just, I don't really know if I need to explain this one. I just don't see LA making it far. They're on the kind of decline. I don't see them making it past the second round. And I see Anaheim as an underdog team. I really like Anaheim's core. I really like their roster. And I think that they could go far in this playoffs. Moving on to the East, we got the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, Toronto, in my prediction, they just barely squeak in past the first round, and they have to play a star-studded Tampa Bay team. What's the result? I have Tampa in 6 games. Yes, Toronto, they're a good team, but overall, Tampa Bay's got a really deep blue line. Their goaltending, Vasilevsky has proven to be shaky at times in the playoffs, but I think that this year will be different, and he'll be, have more confidence with the team in front of him too. The Tampa Bay Lightning just have such great depth with Brendan Point, Yanni Gourde, Kucherov, Stamkos, Palat, all of these guys. They just got such a great team this year, and I don't see them being the Toronto Maple Leafs. one bit. Maybe if Boston made it here, then I could kind of see, because Boston is a wear and tear playoff team, I could maybe see Boston edging out Tampa Bay, but there's no way that I can see Toronto edging out Tampa Bay in the second round. Next up is the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Pittsburgh Penguins. This was a rematch of last year's first round, where Columbus lost, and I think that history will repeat itself, and Columbus will lose yet again to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Pittsburgh Penguins will move on to the third round. Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're a star-studded team. They got lots of good scorers this year. I mean, they're good every year. They had a little bit of struggle at the start of the season. People were kind of questioning them, but I think that they'll edge out the Columbus Blue Jackets due to playoff experience. Murray, he might be a little bit shaky. I could definitely see. I wouldn't be too surprised if Columbus edged this out, but in my bold prediction, well, not really bold prediction, but in my opinion, I see the Pittsburgh Penguins edging out the Columbus Blue Jackets to move on to the conference finals. Next up is Nashville and Anaheim. Now, Nashville is a great team. Anaheim's a great team. They're both deep forward groups, good defense, good goalies. I give it to Nashville. With the Vernon goalie, the solid defensive core, which I think is better than Anaheim's, and the depth on forwards, which they do have Getzlaf, but is he really that big of a difference maker to push them over the edge? I do not think so. I have Nashville edging them out in 6 games. Moving on, we got Tampa and Pittsburgh. This is a rematch of a couple years ago when I think this was Pittsburgh's first run. I think this was actually 2 years ago, because last year they missed the playoffs, and the year before that they were in the conference finals, where they missed Stamkos the whole playoff run. Now, they made it this far with Stamkos the whole playoff run. Kucherov didn't even break out yet, and they still made it to this same spot. Tampa Bay's going to want revenge. Pittsburgh's on the decline. I got Tampa Bay making it to the Stanley Cup final against the Nashville Predators, just like in my bold predictions video at the start of the season. If you look back at that, I actually had Nashville and Tampa Bay match up against each other in the finals, and that was a really good prediction. I'm smart. Anyways, so for the Stanley Cup finals, we got Tampa, Nashville. Now, who's gonna take it? Both of these teams seeking revenge, got good rosters. Who's gonna win? Goalie. Pekka Rinne's got more experience. He's older, he's wiser. Vasilevsky has shown to be shaky in some moments, but I feel like in this playoffs will be different, and he'll show his consistency. Defense. Nashville's got great defense. Tampa's got great defense. If this happens, it's going to 7 games. It's going to be a great matchup, even if it doesn't go 7 games. These two teams are hand in hand. I still don't know who I'm going to take. Forwards are good on both sides, but I actually have the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the Stanley Cup. I don't know who I picked in the bold predictions video, but I have the Stanley Cup going to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then Nashville, heartbroken again, 2 finals losses in a row in this prediction. But I think that next year they will bounce back with Eli Tolvanen. With a full season under his belt, I think that next year they could bounce back better than ever. Now, another factor was Ryan Johansson. I've heard some stuff about him, some rumblings. I really don't know the stuff with his injury. I mean, if he is injured, then I can see either Turris stepping up or the Winnipeg Jets winning there. Lots of people either have Winnipeg, Nashville, and Tampa as their top teams in this playoff run, and I do too. Except Nashville and Winnipeg have to run into each other, which sucks for Winnipeg fans, because Nashville's obviously a great team. But that was all for this video. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you liked it, and comment if you want to see an NBA predictions video, NHL, just whatever video ideas you have for me. And that's all for me today. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.